A single father raising his daughter alone, living an orderly but lonely life after being abandoned. One rainy night, a stranger asks him a simple question. Can you walk me home? That act of kindness spirals into vicious workplace rumors, threatening his career and his ability to provide for his child. But when his daughter suddenly lands in the hospital, the only person who shows up isn't a colleague or friend. It's her. Follow this story to the end, hit like, and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. The rain came down in sheets that Thursday night, turning the parking lot into a minefield of puddles. Lucas Hale sat in his car for an extra minute, watching water stream down the windshield, knowing that the second he opened the door, he'd be soaked before he made it 10 feet. He'd forgotten his umbrella again. Third time this month. He was tired, not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. The other kind. The kind that settles into your bones after years of doing everything alone, of being the only one who shows up, the only one who remembers, the only one responsible for whether a 6-year-old eats breakfast or goes to school with matching socks. Lucas checked his phone. 6:47 p.m. He'd promised Maya he'd be home by 7 to help with her science project, something about growing beans in cups, which apparently required urgent parental supervision. He grabbed his jacket from the passenger seat, took a breath, and shoved the door open. The cold hit him immediately. He jogged toward the office building entrance, jacket pulled over his head, shoes splashing through water he couldn't avoid. He was halfway across the lot when he saw her. She was standing under the overhang by the main doors, arms wrapped around herself, staring out at the downpour like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Dark hair plastered to her face, mascara smudged under her eyes. She looked like she'd been standing there a while. Lucas didn't recognize her. Not from his floor, anyway. The building housed 3 different companies, so that wasn't unusual. He slowed as he approached, water dripping from his hair into his eyes. "Rough night," he said, more to be polite than anything. She turned, and for a second she just looked at him. Her eyes were brown, tired, a little red, like she'd been crying or was about to start. "Yeah," she said. Her voice was steady, though, controlled. "Forgot my umbrella." "Same." Lucas gestured at himself, drenched. "Happens more than I'd like to admit." She almost smiled. Almost. There was a pause. An awkward one. Lucas shifted his weight, ready to say something generic like "good luck," and keep moving, but then she spoke again. "Can you walk me home?" He blinked. "What?" "I know it's—" She stopped, shook her head. "Never mind. That's weird. I don't know you. Sorry." Lucas stood there, water pooling in his shoes, trying to figure out what the hell was happening. She didn't look drunk, didn't look high, just shaken. Scared, maybe, though she was doing a decent job of hiding it. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I'm fine. Too fast, too sharp." "Right." Another silence. She looked away, jaw tight, and Lucas knew he should leave. He had a kid waiting, a science project, a routine that didn't include standing in the rain with strangers who asked cryptic favors. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the way she held herself, like she was used to standing alone. Maybe it was the fact that he knew exactly what that felt like. "Where do you live?" he heard himself ask. She looked back at him, surprised. Maple Street. The apartment's near the library? That's like 10 blocks. "I know, it's fine. I'll call a cab or something." Lucas glanced at the parking lot, empty except for a handful of cars. The rain wasn't letting up. He thought about Maya, about the beans, about the fact that this was absolutely not his problem. "I'll walk you," he said. "You don't have to—" "I know." She studied him for a moment, like she was trying to decide if he was serious or just being polite. Then she nodded, once, barely. "Okay." They started walking. The rain was relentless, soaking through Lucas's jacket within the first block. The woman, he still didn't know her name, walked beside him, hands shoved deep in her coat pockets, eyes fixed on the sidewalk ahead. Neither of them spoke. Lucas's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, shielding the screen from the rain. Maya. "Dad, where are you?" He typed back quickly. "On my way. Be there soon." Maya. "You promised." Guilt twisted in his chest. He pocketed the phone and kept walking. You have somewhere to be, the woman said. It wasn't a question. It's fine. You keep checking your phone. My daughter, Lucas said. She's got a school thing. The woman glanced at him, something shifting in her expression. How old? 6. You should go. It's fine, Lucas said again, though it wasn't, not really. He could already picture Maya's face when he got home late, the way she'd cross her arms and refuse to look at him for 10 minutes before finally letting it go. They turned onto 4th Street, passing closed storefronts and a bus stop where an older man sat hunched under a soaked newspaper. The streetlights flickered, casting everything in uneven yellow light. I'm Elena, by the way, she said suddenly. Lucas? Thanks for doing this, Lucas. You still haven't told me why. She didn't answer right away. They crossed an intersection, water rushing past the curb in a muddy stream. Finally, she spoke. I saw someone. Lucas frowned. What? Earlier, at the office, when I was leaving. Her voice was quieter now, less controlled. This guy. He was just standing there, by the stairwell, watching me. Did you know him? No, that's the thing. I'd never seen him before. But the way he looked at me, she shook her head. I got in the elevator, and when the doors opened on the ground floor, he was there, waiting. Lucas felt something cold settle in his stomach that had nothing to do with the rain. Did he follow you? I don't know. I went back upstairs, waited in the bathroom for like 20 minutes. When I came back down, he was gone. But She trailed off, wrapping her arms around herself again. I didn't want to walk home alone. You should have called the police. And told them what? A guy stood near me? They'd think I was paranoid. Lucas didn't argue, mostly because she was probably right. He scanned the street behind them, looking for anyone who might be following, but it was empty, just rain and shadows. You could have called someone, he said. A friend, boyfriend. Elena let out a short, bitter laugh. Yeah, no. No boyfriend? No anyone. Lucas understood that, more than he wanted to. They walked another block in silence. Elena's breathing had evened out a little, like the act of moving, of not being alone, was helping. Lucas's phone buzzed again. He ignored it. What about you? Elena asked. What about me? You said you have a daughter. Where's her mom? Lucas's jaw tightened. It was a question he'd heard 100 times, and he still didn't have an answer that didn't make him sound either pathetic or angry. Not around, he said. Divorced? Never married. Elena nodded, like that explained something. Maybe it did. She left when Maya was 10 months old, Lucas said, surprising himself. He didn't usually talk about this, didn't see the point, but something about the rain, the darkness, the fact that Elena was a stranger, it made it easier. Woke up one morning and she was gone, packed a bag, left a note, that was it. Jesus. Yeah. What'd the note say? Lucas almost didn't answer, then, I can't do this. Elena was quiet for a moment. Then she said, That's fucked up. Yeah. And you've been doing it alone since then? Pretty much. She glanced at him, and for the first time that night, she looked at him like he was a person instead of just a body walking next to her. That's a long time. Lucas shrugged. You do what you have to. They turned onto Maple Street. The apartment buildings here were older, brick facades with rusted fire escapes and dim hallway lights visible through fogged windows. Elena stopped in front of one with a faded green awning. This is me, she said. Lucas looked up at the building, then back at her. She was soaked, shivering slightly, but she stood straighter now, less afraid. You going to be okay? He asked. Yeah, I think so. She hesitated, then added, Thank you. Really, I know this whole thing was weird. It's fine. You didn't have to. I know. Elena studied him for a second longer, like she was trying to figure something out. Then she turned and walked toward the door. She was halfway there when she stopped and looked back. Your daughter's lucky, she said. Lucas didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. Elena disappeared inside, and Lucas stood there for another moment, rain hammering down around him, before he finally turned and started the long walk back to his car. By the time Lucas got home, it was almost 8. He was drenched, exhausted, and already bracing himself for Maya's disappointment. He unlocked the door to their apartment and stepped inside, pulling off his soaked jacket. "Dad!" Maya appeared in the hallway, arms crossed, her expression a perfect mix of irritation and relief. She had his eyes, gray, sharp, and her mother's dark hair, though Lucas tried not to think about that too much. "I'm sorry, kiddo. I got held up." "You said 7. I know." "We were supposed to do my project." "I know. We'll do it now." Maya frowned, but she didn't push it. She was good at that, knowing when to let things go. Lucas hated that she'd learned it so young. He changed into dry clothes while Maya set up her project on the kitchen table. 3 styrofoam cups, a bag of bean seeds, a notebook with instructions written in her careful, looping handwriting. Lucas sat down across from her, and for the next hour they planted beans, measured soil, labeled cups. Maya chattered the whole time, telling him about her day, about a boy in her class who ate paste, about how her teacher said plants need sunlight and water, but also encouragement. "Like talking to them?" Lucas asked. "Yeah, you're supposed to say nice things so they grow better." "Does it work?" Maya shrugged. "Miss Parker says it does." Lucas smiled despite himself. "Then we'll talk to them." They finished just before 9. Lucas made grilled cheese for dinner, late, but Maya didn't complain, and they ate in front of the TV, some cartoon Lucas didn't follow, but Maya loved. By the time he got her into bed, he was running on fumes. "Dad?" Maya said as he was turning off her lamp. "Yeah?" "Where were you, really?" Lucas paused. He could have lied, should have, probably, but he didn't. "I helped someone." "With what?" "She needed someone to walk her home. She was scared." Maya thought about that. That was nice. Yeah, maybe. "Was she pretty?" Lucas blinked. "What?" "The lady. Was she pretty?" Maya said, "It's okay if she was. I'm just asking." Lucas sighed. "Go to sleep." Maya grinned, pleased with herself, and rolled over. Lucas kissed the top of her head and left the room, pulling the door mostly closed behind him. He collapsed onto the couch, staring at the ceiling. His phone buzzed. He picked it up, expecting another text from Maya. She had a habit of sneaking her tablet into bed. But it wasn't her. Unknown number. "Hey, it's Elena. Got your number from the building directory. Hope that's not weird. Just wanted to say thanks again." Lucas stared at the message for a long moment. He should delete it, should ignore it. He didn't need complications, didn't need anything that might disrupt the careful balance he'd built. He typed back, "Not weird. Glad you got home okay." The reply came fast. "I did. Thanks to you." Lucas set the phone down and rubbed his eyes. He should leave it there, end the conversation, go to bed. His phone buzzed again. "Elena, if you ever need anything, let me know. I owe you." Lucas, "You don't owe me anything." Elena, "Still." Lucas didn't respond. He turned off the phone, tossed it onto the coffee table, and sat there in the dark, listening to the rain still coming down outside. Friday morning came too fast. Lucas got Maya ready for school, packed her lunch, walked her to the bus stop, then drove to work in a daze. The office was the same as always, gray cubicles, fluorescent lights, the low hum of people pretending to be busy. Lucas was a project manager for a mid-sized logistics company, which meant he spent most of his day in meetings that could have been emails and writing emails that should have been conversations. He grabbed coffee from the break room and was heading back to his desk when he saw Derek from accounting leaning against the wall, talking to 2 women Lucas vaguely recognized from HR. "Swear to God, I saw them leaving together last night," Derek was saying. "In the rain. Looked pretty cozy." One of the women laughed. "Derek, you're such a gossip." "I'm just saying what I saw." Lucas froze. Derek glanced up and spotted him. His expression shifted, something smug creeping in around the edges. "Hey, Lucas. Crazy weather last night, huh?" "Yeah," Lucas said carefully. "You get home okay?" "Fine." Derek grinned. "Anyone else get home okay?" The 2 women exchanged looks. One of them, Sharon, Lucas thought her name was, raised an eyebrow. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, Derek said, still looking at Lucas. Just making conversation. Lucas felt heat rise in his chest, but he kept his face neutral. I've got work to do. He walked past them, ignoring the way their voices dropped to whispers the second he was out of earshot. Back at his desk, Lucas tried to focus, tried to ignore the tight knot forming in his stomach. It was nothing. Derek was an idiot. People loved drama, especially when there wasn't any. But by lunchtime, 3 people had given him strange looks in the hallway. By mid-afternoon, his boss, Karen, stopped by his desk. Lucas, can we talk? Sure. She gestured toward the conference room. Lucas followed, dread pooling in his gut. Karen closed the door behind them and leaned against the table, arms crossed. She was in her 50s, sharp, no nonsense, the kind of person who didn't waste time on small talk. I'm going to cut to the chase, she said. There's a rumor going around. Lucas's stomach dropped. What kind of rumor? The kind that involves you and a woman from one of the other companies in this building. There's nothing. I didn't say I believed it, Karen interrupted. But I'm telling you because it's my job to tell you. People are talking, and when people talk, it becomes my problem. I walked someone home, Lucas said, voice tight. That's it. She was scared. I helped. I'm sure that's all it was. It is. Karen sighed. Lucas, I don't care what you do outside of work, but you need to understand how this looks. You're seen leaving with a woman no one knows. Late at night, in the rain, people fill in blanks. With bullshit. With whatever makes the story interesting. She pushed off the table. Just be smart. Don't give them more to work with. I didn't give them anything. I know, but that's not how rumors work. She left, and Lucas sat there, hands clenched into fists on the table. The rest of the day was a blur. Lucas kept his head down, avoided the break room, left exactly at 5. He picked up Maya from after-school care, made dinner, helped with homework. Normal. Routine. The kind of evening that usually kept him grounded, but his mind kept drifting back to the office, to Derek's smug grin, to Karen's warning. After Maya went to bed, Lucas sat on the couch and stared at his phone. He should text Elena. Tell her what happened. Warn her that people were talking. But what would he even say? His phone buzzed. He looked down. Elena. Hey. Weird question, but do you drink coffee? Lucas frowned. Lucas. Sometimes. Why? Elena. There's this place near my apartment. They do a ridiculous caramel latte. Thought maybe I could buy you one. As a thank you. Lucas stared at the message. This was a bad idea. A terrible idea. People were already talking. If he met her for coffee, it would only make things worse. He typed, I don't think that's a good idea. There was a long pause. Then, oh, okay. Sorry if I overstepped. Lucas. It's not that. It's just complicated. Elena. Because of your daughter? Lucas. Because of everything. Another pause. Then, I get it. Thanks again for the other night. Lucas set the phone down, feeling like shit. He'd done the right thing, the smart thing. So why did it feel like he'd just made a mistake? Saturday was supposed to be easy. Lucas took Maya to the park, let her burn off energy on the swings and slides while he sat on a bench and tried not to think about work, about Elena, about the mess that was slowly building in the background of his life. But when they got home, there was a package waiting outside their door. Lucas frowned. He wasn't expecting anything. He picked it up. It was light, wrapped in plain brown paper, with his name written on the front in neat handwriting. No return address. What is it? Maya asked, peering over his shoulder. I don't know. He opened it inside. Inside was a small bag of coffee beans, expensive looking, from a local roaster, and a note. For the next time you forget your umbrella. E. Lucas stared at it, something warm and uncomfortable settling in his chest. Who's E? Maya asked. A friend, Lucas said, which wasn't true, but also wasn't entirely a lie. Maya grinned. The pretty lady? Maya. I'm just saying. Lucas shook his head, but he couldn't help the faint smile that tugged at his mouth. Monday came, and with it, more whispers. Lucas heard his name twice before he even made it to his desk. In the elevator, two guys from sales stopped talking the second he stepped in. At his desk, someone had left a printout of a meme, something about workplace romances, folded and tucked under his keyboard. He threw it in the trash and got to work. But it didn't stop. By Wednesday, it had spread to other floors. People he didn't even know were giving him looks. Someone made a joke in a meeting about extracurricular activities, and Lucas had to sit there and pretend it didn't bother him. Thursday, Karen called him in again. "It's getting worse," she said, not bothering with pleasantries this time. "I haven't done anything." "I know, but perception matters, Lucas. And right now, the perception is that you're involved with someone, and it's distracting." "Distracting from what?" "From work, from professionalism, from..." She stopped, sighed. "Look, I'm on your side, but if this keeps up, I'm going to have to escalate it." "Escalate what? There's nothing to escalate." "Then make it stop." "How am I supposed to do that?" Karen didn't answer. She just looked at him, tired and frustrated, and Lucas realized she didn't know either. That night, Lucas sat in his car in the parking lot, staring at his phone. He should text Elena. Tell her to stop. Tell her the coffee was nice, but they couldn't talk anymore, couldn't be, whatever this was. But before he could, his phone rang. Maya's school. His heart stopped. "Mr. Hale? This is Nurse Stevens at Brightwood Elementary. Maya's running a fever. We need you to come pick her up." Lucas was already moving. "How high?" 102. She says her stomach hurts. "I'm on my way." He hung up, started the car, and drove faster than he should have. Maya was pale, curled up on the nurse's office cot, clutching her backpack. When she saw Lucas, she burst into tears. Hey, it's okay," Lucas said, crouching beside her. "We're going home." "It hurts, Dad." "I know, kiddo. We'll fix it." He signed her out, carried her to the car, drove home with one hand on the wheel and the other reaching back to hold hers. At home, he gave her medicine, tucked her into bed, sat beside her until she fell asleep. Then he went to the kitchen and made soup, checked her temperature every hour, and tried not to panic. By midnight, the fever hadn't broken. By 2, it was climbing. At 3 a.m., Maya woke up crying, saying her side hurt, and Lucas made the call. He took her to the emergency room. The ER was bright and cold and full of people who looked just as tired as Lucas felt. He filled out forms, answered questions, held Maya's hand while they waited. It was almost 4 in the morning when a doctor finally saw them. "Possible appendicitis," the doctor said. "We'll need to run some tests." Lucas felt the floor drop out from under him. They admitted Maya, took her for scans, left Lucas sitting alone in a waiting room that smelled like disinfectant and fear. He called his boss, left a voicemail, called Maya's school, left another. He didn't call anyone else because there wasn't anyone else to call. He sat there, head in his hands, wondering how the hell he was going to do this alone. And then he heard footsteps. He looked up. Elena was standing in the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee, looking exhausted and determined. "How did you mentioned the hospital in one of your texts," she said quietly. "I took a guess." Lucas stared at her. "You didn't have to come." "I know." She sat down beside him and handed him one of the cups. It was still warm. "She's going to be okay," Elena said. It wasn't a question. "I don't know," Lucas said, and his voice cracked. Elena didn't say anything. She just sat there, close enough that Lucas could feel her presence, solid and real, and for the first time in days, maybe years, he didn't feel completely alone. They sat together in silence, waiting for news. As the first light of dawn crept through the hospital windows, the coffee was terrible, bitter, and lukewarm. But Lucas drank it anyway. Elena sat beside him, quiet, her presence somehow both comforting and unsettling. He didn't know what to say, didn't know why she was here, or what it meant that she'd shown up at 4 in the morning to sit with a man she barely knew. "You should go home," he said finally. "I'm fine." "Elena." "Lucas, I'm not leaving." Her voice was firm, the same controlled tone she'd used that night in the rain, and Lucas realized arguing would be pointless, so he stopped trying. They sat in silence, the waiting room slowly filling with other exhausted people clutching clipboards and insurance cards. A woman in scrubs walked past, her shoes squeaking on the linoleum. Somewhere down the hall, a machine beeped in steady rhythm. Lucas checked his phone. 4:47 a.m. He'd been here almost 2 hours and still no word. They said possible appendicitis, he said, not looking at Elena. They're doing scans. How old is she again? 6. Elena winced. That's so young. Yeah. Is she scared? Lucas thought about Maya's face when they wheeled her away, pale, eyes wide, trying so hard to be brave. Terrified. But she didn't want me to know. Like her dad. Lucas glanced at her. What's that supposed to mean? You're scared too. You're just better at hiding it. He wanted to argue, but she was right. He'd spent 6 years building walls, learning to keep everything locked down so Maya wouldn't see him fall apart. But sitting here, waiting for someone to tell him whether his daughter needed surgery, those walls felt paper thin. She's all I have, he said quietly. Elena didn't respond right away. When she did, her voice was softer. I know. Another silence. Lucas rubbed his eyes, exhaustion settling into every muscle. He hadn't slept, hadn't eaten. His shirt still smelled like the disinfectant soap from the ER bathroom, where he'd scrubbed his hands 3 times, trying to do something, anything useful. Can I ask you something? Elena said. Sure. Why did you help me that night? Lucas frowned. What do you mean? You didn't know me. You had somewhere to be. You could have just said no. You looked like you needed help. So? So I helped. Elena shook her head, a faint smile on her lips. Most people wouldn't have. Maybe you've been around the wrong people. Maybe. A doctor appeared at the end of the hall, clipboard in hand, scanning the room. Lucas stood before the man, even called his name. Mr. Hale? That's me. The doctor walked over, his expression neutral in that carefully practiced way medical professionals had. Lucas's heart was pounding. Maya's stable, the doctor said, and Lucas felt his knees nearly buckle. The scans show early-stage appendicitis. We're going to keep her under observation for a few hours, but if the inflammation doesn't worsen, we may be able to treat it with antibiotics and avoid surgery. And if it does worsen, then we operate. But right now she's holding steady. The doctor glanced at his notes. She's asking for you. Can I see her? Of course, follow me. Lucas turned to Elena. Go, she said. I'll be here. He didn't argue. He followed the doctor down a maze of hallways to a small room where Maya lay in a hospital bed, an IV taped to her arm, looking impossibly small under the white sheets. Dad! Her voice cracked, and Lucas was beside her in 2 steps. Hey, kiddo, I'm here. They stuck a needle in me. I know. I'm sorry. It hurt. I know. She reached for his hand and Lucas took it, holding on like she might disappear if he let go. Am I going to be okay? She asked, and the fear in her voice broke something in him. Yeah, Lucas said, voice rough. You're going to be fine. Promise? He shouldn't promise. He didn't know, but he did it anyway. Promise. Maya nodded, some of the tension leaving her face. She was quiet for a moment, then, Is the pretty lady still here? Lucas blinked. What? The one who sent the coffee. Is she here? How did you— I'm not dumb, Dad. You've been weird since you got that package. Lucas sighed. Yeah, she's in the waiting room. She came to the hospital? Yeah. Maya smiled just a little. She must really like you. Maya? It's okay. I like her too. You don't even know her. She sent you coffee, and she's here. That's enough. Lucas didn't know what to say to that, so he just squeezed her hand. They kept Maya for another 6 hours. The inflammation didn't worsen, which the doctors said was a good sign. But they wanted to monitor her through the morning just to be safe. Lucas stayed by her side the entire time, dozing in the chair next to her bed, waking every time a nurse came in to check her vitals. Around 10, a different doctor came by, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a calm demeanor. Good news, she said. Maya's responding well to the antibiotics. We're going to discharge her this afternoon, but she'll need to stay home from school for at least a week. Lots of rest, light foods, and if the pain gets worse, You bring her straight back. Understood, Lucas said. You did the right thing bringing her in when you did. Appendicitis can escalate fast. You caught it early. Lucas nodded, relief washing over him. After the doctor left, Maya looked at him. Can I have pancakes when we get home? The doctor said light foods. Pancakes are light. Maya, please? Lucas couldn't help but smile. We'll see. By the time they discharged Maya, it was almost 2 in the afternoon. Lucas carried her to the car, buckled her in, and drove home in a daze. When they got to the apartment, he helped her into bed, made her toast and soup, and sat with her until she fell asleep. Then he went back to the living room and collapsed on the couch. His phone was full of messages, his boss asking if he'd be in tomorrow. Maya's school, confirming she'd be out. A few texts from coworkers he barely talked to, probably just fishing for gossip, and one from Elena. How is she? Lucas typed back. She's okay. Home now, resting. The reply came fast. I'm glad. You need anything? No. But thanks for staying. Anytime. Lucas stared at the word, something tightening in his chest. He wanted to say more, to explain why her being there had mattered, but he didn't know how. So he just set the phone down and closed his eyes. He woke to Maya calling his name. Dad! Lucas jolted upright, disoriented. The living room was dark. He'd been asleep for hours. Dad, I'm hungry! He stumbled to her room, finding her sitting up in bed, looking pale but alert. What do you want? He asked. Pancakes. Lucas sighed. Maya, you said we'd see. We saw. Now I want pancakes. Despite everything, Lucas laughed. Fine, pancakes. He made them from scratch, the way Maya liked, with chocolate chips and too much syrup. She ate 3, chattering the whole time about the hospital, the IV, the nice nurse who gave her stickers. She said I was brave, Maya said, mouth full. You were. I cried, though. Being brave doesn't mean you don't cry. It just means you keep going anyway. Maya thought about that, then nodded. Like you. Lucas's throat tightened. Yeah, like me. After dinner, Lucas got Maya settled back in bed, read her 2 chapters of the book they were working through, and kissed her goodnight. Then he went back to the couch, exhausted but unable to sleep. His phone buzzed. Elena. I know it's late, but I wanted to check in. How's she doing tonight? Lucas. Better. Eating again, complaining, all good signs. Elena. That's great. And you? Lucas stared at the question. No one asked him that. Not really. People asked about Maya, about work, about logistics, but no one asked how he was doing. Lucas. Tired, but okay. Elena. You sure? Lucas. Honestly? No, but I will be. There was a pause, then. You don't have to do everything alone, you know. Lucas read the message 3 times, something cracking in his chest. Lucas. I'm used to it. Elena. That doesn't mean you should be. He didn't respond. Didn't know how. Over the next few days, Lucas stayed home with Maya. She was recovering well, her energy slowly returning, though she milked the situation for all it was worth, extra screen time, her favorite snacks, permission to skip her usual chores. Lucas didn't mind. He was just grateful she was okay. But staying home meant missing work. And missing work meant falling behind. And falling behind meant more stress he didn't need. His boss was understanding, but Lucas could feel the weight of expectations building. The rumors hadn't died down. If anything, they'd gotten worse. Thursday morning, Karen called. Lucas, we need to talk. I'll be back Monday. It's not about that. It's about the other thing. Lucas's stomach dropped. What other thing? The rumors. They've escalated. Someone filed a complaint. A complaint? About what? Inappropriate conduct. The woman you were seen with, apparently she works for one of the other companies in the building. HR is saying it's a conflict of interest. That's insane. I don't even work with her. I barely know her. I know. But perception is reality, Lucas. And right now, the perception is bad. So what are you saying? Karen sighed. I'm saying you need to come in on Monday and meet with HR. Clear this up before it gets worse. It's already worse. How much worse can it get? You'd be surprised. Lucas hung up, furious and helpless. He paced the apartment, trying to figure out what the hell he was supposed to do. He hadn't done anything wrong. He'd helped someone. That was it. And now people were trying to turn it into something dirty, something he had to defend. His phone buzzed. Elena. Hey, can we talk? Lucas hesitated, then called her. She picked up on the second ring. Hi. Hi. There was a pause, awkward and heavy. I heard about the complaint, Elena said. Lucas froze. How? Someone from your company called mine, asked questions. My boss told me. Her voice was tight, controlled. Lucas, I'm so sorry. This is my fault. It's not. It is. I asked you to walk me home. I sent you coffee. I showed up at the hospital. I dragged you into this. You didn't drag me into anything. I made my own choices. And now you're paying for them. Lucas sat down, rubbing his eyes. It's fine. It's not fine. You could lose your job. I won't. You don't know that. Elena, I'll fix this, she said. I'll talk to HR. Explain what happened. Make them understand. You don't have to do that. Yes, I do. Lucas wanted to argue, but he was too tired. Okay. Okay. Another silence. Lucas? Yeah. Thank you for everything. You already thanked me. I know, but I mean it. Lucas didn't know what to say, so he just said, You're welcome. They hung up, and Lucas sat there, staring at the ceiling, wondering how his life had gotten so complicated. Monday came too fast. Lucas dropped Maya off at his neighbor's, a retired teacher who sometimes watched her when he was in a bind, and drove to work with a knot in his stomach. The office felt different, hostile. People didn't meet his eyes. Conversations stopped when he walked past. Derek gave him a smug look from across the room, and Lucas had to resist the urge to punch him. At 9, he was called into a conference room. Karen was there, along with 2 people from HR, a man and a woman Lucas vaguely recognized but had never spoken to. Mr. Hale, thank you for coming in, the woman said. Her name tag read Jennifer. We just have a few questions. Sure. Can you tell us about your relationship with Elena Ward? There is no relationship. I walked her home one night. That's it. And the hospital visit? Lucas's jaw tightened. My daughter was sick. Elena came to check on us, as a friend. A friend you barely know? A friend I'm getting to know. Jennifer exchanged a look with her colleague. Mr. Hale, we've received reports that you and Ms. Ward were seen together multiple times, both inside and outside of work hours. That raises concerns about professionalism. I've never seen her at work. She doesn't even work on my floor. But she works in this building. So do 300 other people. Mr. Hale, I didn't do anything wrong, Lucas said, voice harder now. I helped someone who needed help. If that's a crime, then fire me. But don't sit here and pretend this is about professionalism. This is about gossip. The room went quiet. Finally, the man spoke. We're not firing you, Mr. Hale, but we are advising you to be more careful about appearances. Noted. Jennifer leaned forward. We've also spoken with Ms. Ward. She corroborated your account. Lucas blinked. She came in? This morning. She was very clear about what happened. And we're closing the complaint, but this is a warning, Mr. Hale. Be mindful of how your actions are perceived. Lucas stood. Is that all? That's all. He left the room, hands shaking, and went straight to his desk. He tried to work, tried to focus, but his mind kept drifting to Elena. She'd come in, defended him, put herself on the line. He pulled out his phone. Lucas. Thank you. Elena. For what? Lucas. You know what? Elena. I told the truth. That's all. Lucas. Still. Thank you. There was a pause, then, coffee sometime? For real this time? Lucas stared at the message. Every rational part of him said no. Said this was a bad idea. Said he didn't have room in his life for complications. But he typed, "Yeah, coffee sounds good." That Friday they met at the place near Elena's apartment, the one she'd mentioned in her first text. It was small, cozy, with mismatched furniture and the smell of fresh pastries. Elena was already there when Lucas arrived, sitting by the window with 2 cups in front of her. "Caramel latte," she said, sliding one toward him, as promised. Lucas sat down. "You remembered. I pay attention." He took a sip. It was good, ridiculous, but good. "How's Maya?" Elena asked. "Better. Back to her normal self, which means she's driving me crazy." Elena smiled. "That's a good sign." "Yeah." They talked for an hour, about nothing and everything, about work, about the city, about the weather. Elena told him about her job, some mid-level position at a consulting firm she didn't seem to care much about. Lucas told her about Maya's school project, the beans they were growing, the way she insisted on talking to them every morning. "Does it work?" Elena asked. "I have no idea, but she's convinced." Elena laughed, and Lucas realized he liked the sound. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure." "That night, the guy you saw, did you ever figure out who he was?" Elena's smile faded. "No, I never saw him again." "You think he was following you?" "I don't know. Maybe I imagined it." "You didn't imagine it." "How do you know?" "Because you don't strike me as someone who scares easy." Elena looked at him, something shifting in her expression. "I'm not. But that night, I was." "Why?" She hesitated, then, "Because I was alone. And I've been alone for a long time, and sometimes that's fine, but that night, it wasn't." Lucas understood that more than he wanted to. They finished their coffee, and Lucas walked her home. It was late afternoon, the sun low and golden, nothing like that first rainy night, but it felt the same somehow, comfortable, easy. At her door, Elena turned to him. "Thanks for coming. Thanks for the coffee. We should do this again." "Yeah, we should." She smiled, and Lucas felt something shift, something he hadn't felt in years, something dangerous and terrifying and maybe, just maybe, worth the risk. He walked back to his car, the city alive around him. And for the first time in a long time, Lucas Hale didn't feel quite so alone. The weekend passed in a blur of normalcy that felt almost foreign. Lucas took Maya to the park, helped her with homework, made pancakes on Sunday morning because she asked nicely, and he didn't have the heart to say no. But underneath the routine, something had shifted. He caught himself checking his phone more than usual, waiting for texts that sometimes came and sometimes didn't. Elena wasn't constant. She'd go hours without responding, then send 3 messages in a row about something random she'd seen or thought about. It was unpredictable, and Lucas didn't know how to feel about that. Monday morning, he was back at work, trying to pretend the HR meeting had never happened. Most people had moved on to newer gossip. Someone in marketing was sleeping with someone in sales, apparently, which was far more interesting than Lucas's non-existent scandal. Derek still gave him looks, but Lucas had gotten good at ignoring him. He was in the middle of a budget report when his phone buzzed. "Elena. Weird question. Do you like museums?" Lucas frowned. Lucas. "Never really thought about it." "Why?" Elena. "There's an exhibit downtown, photography thing. Thought it might be cool." Lucas. "You asking me out?" Elena. "Maybe. Is that okay?" Lucas stared at the screen, his thumb hovering over the keyboard. He should say no, should keep things simple, uncomplicated. But he typed, "Yeah, that's okay." Elena. "Saturday?" Lucas. "I have Maya." Elena. "Bring her." Lucas hesitated. Bringing Maya meant this was more than coffee. It meant introductions, expectations, the possibility of something real. It meant Maya would ask questions he didn't have answers to, but he typed, "Okay." Elena. "Cool. I'll text you the address." Lucas set his phone down and tried to focus on work, but his mind kept drifting. He hadn't been on anything resembling a date in years. Hadn't wanted to. The idea of letting someone into his life, into Maya's life, felt reckless. But Elena had already been there. At the hospital, in the worst moment, when he'd needed someone and hadn't even known it. Maybe that counted for something. Saturday came faster than Lucas expected. He told Maya they were going to see art, and she immediately wanted to know if there would be paintings of dinosaurs. I don't think so, Lucas said. Then why are we going? Because it'll be fun. Maya gave him a skeptical look but didn't argue. She wore her favorite dress, the blue one with pockets, and insisted on bringing her sketchbook in case she got inspired. They met Elena outside the museum at noon. She was wearing jeans and a gray sweater, her hair pulled back, looking more relaxed than Lucas had seen her. When she spotted them, she smiled. You must be Maya, Elena said, crouching down to eye level. Maya studied her with the intense scrutiny only a 6-year-old could manage. Are you the pretty lady? Lucas felt his face heat. Maya. It's okay, Elena said, laughing. Yes, I'm the pretty lady, though I don't know who told you that. Dad did. Sort of. Maya, he said you were nice, and you sent him coffee. I like coffee people. Elena grinned. Well, I like you already. They went inside, and Lucas expected Maya to get bored within 10 minutes, but she surprised him. She studied each photograph with the same intensity she'd used on Elena, asking questions, pointing out details Lucas hadn't noticed. Elena walked beside her, answering every question like it mattered, like Maya's observations were worth hearing. Why is that one blurry? Maya asked, pointing at a black and white shot of a crowded street. I think the photographer wanted to show movement, Elena said. See how everyone's walking? The blur makes it feel like the city's alive. Maya tilted her head. I don't like it. It makes my eyes hurt. That's fair. They moved to the next piece, a portrait of an old woman sitting on a porch, her face lined with decades of life. She looks sad, Maya said quietly. Maybe, Elena said. Or maybe she's just thinking. About what? I don't know. What do you think? Maya considered this. Maybe she's thinking about when she was little. Like me. Elena glanced at Lucas, something soft in her expression, and Lucas felt that shift again, the one that scared him and pulled him forward at the same time. They spent 2 hours at the museum. Maya filled 3 pages of her sketchbook with drawings that looked nothing like the photographs but captured something else entirely. Her version of the world, filtered through crayons and imagination. When they finally left, Maya was buzzing with energy. Can we get ice cream? She asked. Maya, it's freezing outside. So? Ice cream is good when it's cold. Lucas looked at Elena, who shrugged. She makes a solid point. They ended up at a small shop 2 blocks away, the kind of place with too many flavors and sticky tables. Maya got mint chip, Lucas got vanilla because he was boring, and Elena got something with caramel and sea salt that she claimed was life-changing. You want to try? She asked Lucas, holding out her cone. Lucas hesitated, then took a bite. It was good. Better than good. See? Elena said, triumphant. Life-changing. Maya watched them with interest, swinging her legs under the table. Are you Dad's girlfriend? Lucas nearly choked. Maya. What? I'm just asking. Elena didn't miss a beat. Would that be okay with you? Maya thought about it, seriously, like she was weighing the fate of nations. I guess, as long as you're nice, I'll do my best. And you have to like pancakes. I love pancakes. Okay. Maya nodded, satisfied, and went back to her ice cream. Lucas wanted to disappear into the floor. Later, after they'd walked Maya to the park and watched her run laps around the playground, Lucas and Elena sat on a bench while the sun dipped low. Sorry about the interrogation, Lucas said. Don't be. She's great. She's nosy. She's 6. It's her job to be nosy. Lucas smiled despite himself. Fair point. Elena was quiet for a moment, watching Maya climb the jungle gym with reckless confidence. You're a good dad, you know that? I'm trying. No, you are. She's happy. She feels safe. That's everything. Lucas didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. Can I ask you something? Elena said. Sure. Do you ever regret it, doing this alone? Well, Lucas thought about the question. Every day, but not because of her, because she deserves better. 2 parents, stability, not just me fumbling through everything. You're not fumbling. You don't see the mornings when I burn breakfast and forget to sign permission slips and show up to school events 20 minutes late. That's called being human, not fumbling. Lucas looked at her. You're surprisingly optimistic for someone who asked a stranger to walk her home because she was scared. Elena's smile faded slightly. Yeah, I guess I am. There was something in her voice, a crack in the armor, and Lucas wanted to ask what had happened, what had made her so afraid that night. But before he could, Maya came running over, breathless and grinning. Dad, can Elena come over for dinner? Lucas blinked. Maya, please, I want to show her my bean plants. Lucas looked at Elena, who raised an eyebrow. Bean plants? It's a science project, Lucas said. We're growing beans. She talks to them. Of course she does, Elena smiled. I'd love to see them. Dinner was chaotic. Lucas had planned to order pizza, but Maya insisted they make spaghetti because it's more fancy, which meant Lucas stood in the kitchen boiling noodles while Maya narrated the entire process to Elena, like she was hosting a cooking show. First, you have to boil the water. Dad always forgets to salt it, but you're supposed to. Then you add the pasta, not too much or it gets sticky. Good to know, Elena said, leaning against the counter, clearly amused. Lucas drained the pasta, added sauce from a jar, and called it done. They ate at the small kitchen table, Maya dominating the conversation with stories about school, her friends, a boy named Ethan who ate glue. Why does he eat glue? Elena asked. I don't know, he's weird. After dinner, Maya dragged Elena to her room to see the bean plants, which had sprouted into tiny green shoots. See, they're growing, Maya said proudly. They're perfect, Elena said. I talk to them every day. Dad says it helps. Your dad's a smart guy. Maya beamed. Then, without warning, she hugged Elena. It was quick, impulsive, the kind of thing kids did without thinking. But Elena froze for a second, like she didn't know what to do, before carefully hugging her back. When Maya let go, she yawned. I'm tired. Bedtime, Lucas said from the doorway. But Elena's still here. Elena will come back. Say goodnight. Maya pouted but obeyed, giving Elena another quick hug before climbing into bed. Lucas tucked her in, read 2 pages of their book, and kissed her forehead. I like her, Maya whispered. I know. Do you like her? Lucas hesitated. Yeah, I do. Maya smiled and closed her eyes. Back in the living room, Elena was looking at the photos on the wall, mostly Maya, a few of Lucas and Maya together, none of anyone else. No pictures of her mom, Elena observed. No, Lucas said. Do you have any? Somewhere. Packed away. Elena nodded, like she understood. Maya doesn't ask about her? Sometimes. I tell her the truth, that her mom couldn't stay, that it's not Maya's fault. Is it yours? Lucas looked at her. What? Do you think it's your fault she left? He wanted to say no, wanted to believe it, but the truth was more complicated. I think I wasn't enough. For her, anyway. Or maybe she just wasn't ready. Some people aren't. And you? Lucas asked. Are you ready? Elena met his eyes. For what? For this. Whatever this is. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I don't know, but I want to try. Lucas felt something in his chest loosen. Yeah, me too. Elena left around 10, and Lucas walked her to her car. The night was cold, clear, the kind of cold that made your breath fog. Thanks for today, Elena said, for letting me meet her. Thanks for showing up. I meant what I said earlier. You're doing a good job. Lucas shrugged. I'm doing my best. That's all anyone can do. She leaned in, hesitated, then kissed him on the cheek. It was quick, almost shy, and when she pulled back, she was smiling. Good night, Lucas. Good night. He watched her drive away, then went back inside, feeling like something had changed, something important. The next 2 weeks settled into a rhythm. Lucas saw Elena twice more, once for coffee, once for a walk through the park while Maya was at school. They talked about everything and nothing, the conversations easy in a way Lucas hadn't expected. Elena told him about her job, about the coworkers she didn't like, about the apartment she'd lived in for 3 years but still didn't feel like home. Lucas told her about Maya's latest obsession with astronauts, about the way she insisted on wearing her Halloween costume to bed, about the moments when he felt like he was failing and the moments when he felt like maybe he wasn't. But underneath the ease, there was tension. At work, the rumors had mostly died down, but Lucas still felt eyes on him. Derek still smirked when they passed in the hall, and Karen, while supportive, had made it clear that Lucas was on thin ice. Then, on a Tuesday, everything fell apart. Lucas was in a meeting when his phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again and again. He glanced down. Unknown number. You should be more careful about the company you keep. Lucas frowned. He didn't recognize the number. Another message. Ask your girlfriend about her last job. See what she says. His stomach dropped. He excused himself from the meeting, stepped into the hallway, and called Elena. She picked up on the third ring. Hey, what's up? I just got a weird text about you. Silence. Elena? What did it say? Lucas read her the messages. The silence stretched longer. Elena, what's going on? Her voice cracked. I need to tell you something. Okay. Not over the phone. Can you meet me? After work? Yeah, where? The coffee shop, the one near my place. Okay. She hung up and Lucas stood there, staring at his phone, dread pooling in his gut. The rest of the day dragged. Lucas couldn't focus, couldn't think about anything except what Elena might say, what secret she'd been keeping. By the time he got to the coffee shop, his nerves were shot. Elena was already there, sitting in the corner, her hands wrapped around a cup she wasn't drinking. She looked up when he walked in, and Lucas saw fear in her eyes. He sat down. Talk to me. Elena took a breath. I got fired from my last job. Lucas waited. It was a law firm. I was a paralegal, and I made a mistake. She looked down at her cup. There was this case, big, high profile, and I missed a filing deadline. Just forgot. It cost the client millions. Jesus. They fired me on the spot, threatened to sue me. I settled, signed an NDA, and they agreed not to pursue it further. But it ruined me. I couldn't get another job in law. No one would hire me. That's why I'm at the consulting firm now. It's not what I wanted, it's just what I could get. Lucas processed this. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was ashamed. Because I didn't want you to think I was a failure. I know you don't, but I do. Her voice broke. Every day I think about it, about how I screwed up, about how I let people down. And I didn't want you to see me that way. Lucas reached across the table, took her hand. Elena, I don't care about that. You should, but I don't. She looked at him, eyes red. Someone's trying to hurt you because of me. First the rumors, now this. Lucas, you need to stay away from me. No. Yes. This isn't fair to you, or to Maya. Let me decide what's fair. Lucas, no. His voice was firm. You made a mistake. You paid for it. That doesn't define you. It does to everyone else. I'm not everyone else. Elena pulled her hand back, shaking her head. You don't understand. Whoever sent that text, they're not going to stop. They're going to keep digging, keep trying to hurt you. Then we deal with it. How? Lucas didn't have an answer. That night, Lucas lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Elena's words echoed in his head. Someone was targeting them, trying to drive them apart. And the worst part was, it was working. Lucas could feel the doubt creeping in, the fear that maybe this wasn't worth it, that maybe protecting Maya meant walking away. But when he thought about Elena, about the way she'd shown up at the hospital, the way she'd listened to Maya talk about bean plants, the way she'd looked at him like he mattered, he couldn't do it, couldn't walk away. His phone buzzed. Elena. I'm sorry, Lucas. For what? Elena. For dragging you into my mess. Lucas. You didn't drag me anywhere. I chose this. Elena. Why? Lucas. Because you're worth it. There was a long pause. Then, I don't deserve you. Lucas. Let me be the judge of that. Another pause. Then, okay. Lucas set the phone down and closed his eyes, knowing that whatever came next, they'd face it together. The next morning, Lucas went to work with a plan. He found Derek in the break room, pouring coffee. "We need to talk," Lucas said. Derek turned, that smug smile already forming. "About what?" "About the texts, the rumors, all of it." Derek's smile faltered. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do." "Lucas, I'm not asking. I'm telling. Whatever you think you're doing, it stops. Now." Derek's face hardened. "Or what? Or I go to HR and I tell them you've been harassing me, creating a hostile work environment, and we both know how that ends." Derek stared at him, jaw tight. Then he laughed, bitter and sharp. "You think you're so righteous. But you're not. You're just a guy who got lucky, who had a kid and made everyone feel sorry for you." "Is that what this is about? You think I don't deserve sympathy?" "I think you play the victim. Poor Lucas, all alone, raising his kid. But you're not a victim. You're just pathetic." Lucas stepped closer, voice low. "Stay away from me. And stay away from Elena." Derek's eyes narrowed. "Or what?" "Or you'll find out." Lucas walked away, hands shaking, but he didn't look back. That Friday, Elena called. "I did something," she said. "What?" "I went to your HR, told them everything about my past, about the texts, about Derek." Lucas sat down. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did. If they were going to find out anyway, I wanted them to hear it from me." "And?" "And they're investigating. They can't tell me much, but they said they'd handle it." Lucas felt something like relief wash over him. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. This could still blow up." "Then we'll deal with it." Elena was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Lucas?" "Huh?" "I think I'm falling for you." Lucas's breath caught. "Yeah?" "Yeah." "Good. Because I think I'm falling for you too." Elena laughed, soft and real, and Lucas felt the weight of the past few weeks lift just a little. They didn't have all the answers, didn't know what would happen next. But for the first time in a long time, Lucas felt like maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. The investigation moved slower than Lucas had hoped. HR assured him they were taking it seriously, but days turned into a week, then two, and nothing changed. Derek still showed up to work, still gave Lucas that infuriating smirk across the office. The only difference was that now other people were watching too, waiting to see what would happen, whose version of events would win out. Lucas tried to keep his head down, focus on his projects, be the reliable employee Karen needed him to be. But it was exhausting. Every meeting felt like a performance, every conversation loaded with subtext he couldn't decode. He started eating lunch at his desk, avoiding the break room entirely, and leaving exactly at 5 so he wouldn't have to make small talk in the parking lot. Maya noticed. She always noticed. "You're grumpy," she said one night over dinner. Lucas looked up from his plate. "I'm not grumpy." "Yes, you are. You've been grumpy for like a week." "I'm just tired." "Is it because of work?" "Yeah, something like that." Maya frowned, pushing her peas around with her fork. "Is it because of Elena?" Lucas set down his fork. "Why would you think that?" "Because you haven't seen her in forever, and you always check your phone, but you don't smile anymore when you do." Lucas didn't know what to say. Maya was right. He and Elena had been texting, but it felt different now, careful, like they were both waiting for the other shoe to drop. "It's complicated, kiddo." "That's what adults say when they don't want to explain." "Yeah, pretty much." Maya was quiet for a moment, then, "I miss her." Lucas felt something twist in his chest. "Yeah, me too." That night, after Maya went to bed, Lucas called Elena. She picked up on the first ring. "Hey." "Hey, you busy?" "Not really, just watching TV. Well, pretending to watch TV." Lucas smiled despite himself. "Same." There was a pause, comfortable but heavy. "Maya asked about you today," Lucas said. "Yeah?" "She said she misses you." Elena was quiet for a beat. "I miss her too, both of you. So why does it feel like we're avoiding each other?" "Because we are." "Why?" Elena sighed. Because I'm scared, Lucas. Scared that if this goes wrong, I'll hurt you, hurt Maya, and I don't want to be the person who does that. You're not going to. You don't know that. Neither do you. Another pause. Can I see you? Lucas asked. In person. Not just texts. When? Tomorrow. After work. I'll figure out something for Maya. Okay, Elena said softly. Tomorrow. Lucas found a sitter, the neighbor again, the one who never asked questions, and met Elena at a park halfway between their places. It was early evening, the sky streaked with orange and pink, the air just cold enough to make him pull his jacket tighter. Elena was sitting on a bench near the playground, hands in her pockets, looking smaller than usual. Lucas sat down beside her. Hi, she said. Hi. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Elena said, I've been thinking a lot about us, about what happens if this doesn't work. Why are you so sure it won't? Because nothing ever does, not for me. Lucas turned to look at her. That's not fair. You can't write this off before it even starts. I'm not writing it off. I'm being realistic. No, you're being scared. Elena's jaw tightened. So what if I am? You should be scared too. Someone's actively trying to ruin your life because of me. That's not because of you. That's because of Derek. And he's an asshole. An asshole you have to work with every day. An asshole who's making your life hell. I can handle it. But you shouldn't have to. Lucas ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. Elena, I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm just asking you to stop running. I'm not running. Yes, you are. The second things get hard, you pull away. You did it after the hospital. You're doing it now. Elena stood up, her voice rising. Because I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to let someone in without screwing it up. I've spent my entire adult life alone, Lucas. By choice. Because it's easier. And now you're here, and Maya's here, and I care about you both so much it terrifies me. Lucas stood too, closing the distance between them. You think I'm not terrified? I've been doing this alone for 6 years. 6 years of making sure Maya has everything she needs, of being the only one who shows up, the only one she can count on. And now you're here, and I want to let you in, but it scares the hell out of me, because what if you leave? What if you decide this is too hard, and you walk away like she did? Elena's eyes filled with tears. I'm not her. I know, but I don't know how to believe that yet. They stood there, facing each other, both breathing hard. Then Elena stepped forward and kissed him. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, messy, all the fear and frustration and longing they'd been holding back crashing together. Lucas pulled her closer, his hands in her hair, and for a moment, nothing else mattered. When they finally broke apart, Elena rested her forehead against his. I'm not leaving, she whispered. I'm scared, but I'm not leaving. Okay, Lucas said, his voice rough. Okay. They sat back down on the bench, Elena tucked against his side, and watched the sun disappear behind the trees. The following Monday, Karen called Lucas into her office. They finished the investigation, she said without preamble. Lucas's stomach dropped. And? Derek's been suspended pending further review. They found evidence he was behind the texts. Turns out he's been harassing other employees too, not just you. Lucas felt relief flood through him. So it's over? For now. But Lucas, this has been a mess. And I need you to understand that while you didn't do anything wrong, you still need to be careful. People are watching. I know. Karen leaned back in her chair, studying him. Is she worth it? This woman? Lucas didn't hesitate. Yeah, she is. Karen nodded slowly. Then I hope it works out, but if it doesn't, don't let it affect your work. You're good at what you do. Don't throw that away. I won't. Lucas left her office feeling lighter than he had in weeks. He texted Elena immediately. Lucas, Derek's suspended. It's over. Elena, oh my God. Really? Lucas, really? Elena, I don't know what to say. Lucas, say you'll have dinner with me and Maya this weekend. Elena, yes. Absolutely yes. Saturday came and Elena showed up at Lucas's apartment at 6, carrying a bottle of wine and a bag of cookies she'd baked herself. You bake? Lucas asked, surprised. Sometimes. When I'm stressed. I made 3 batches yesterday. Maya appeared in the hallway, grinning. Elena! Hey kiddo, I brought cookies. Are they good? I don't know. You tell me. Maya grabbed one, took a bite, and her eyes went wide. These are amazing. See? Stress baking pays off. They made dinner together, or tried to. Maya insisted on helping, which meant there was flour everywhere, and the chicken was slightly overcooked, but no one cared. They ate at the small kitchen table, laughing over Maya's stories about school, about the boy who ate glue, who apparently had graduated to eating erasers, and about her bean plants, which were now 6 inches tall. They're basically trees, Maya said proudly. Basically, Elena agreed. After dinner, they watched a movie. Maya curled up between them on the couch, and halfway through, she fell asleep, her head on Elena's shoulder. Elena looked down at her, something soft and fragile crossing her face. She's out. Yeah, she does that. Lucas carefully picked Maya up and carried her to bed. When he came back, Elena was cleaning up the living room, folding the blanket Maya had been using, stacking the empty popcorn bowls. You don't have to do that, Lucas said. I know, but I want to. Lucas watched her for a moment, then said, Can I ask you something? Sure. That night, the one where you asked me to walk you home, were you really scared? Or was it something else? Elena stopped, her hand still on the blanket. I was scared. But not just of the guy. I was scared of being alone, of going back to my apartment and sitting there in the dark with no one to talk to, no one who cared if I made it home safe. She looked at him. And then you showed up, and you cared, even though you didn't have to. I'm glad I did. Me too. Lucas crossed the room and kissed her, slow and deliberate, and this time there was no desperation, just certainty. The weeks that followed were easier. Derek didn't come back to work. Rumor was he'd been let go, though HR wouldn't confirm it. The whispers died down. People moved on to other dramas. Lucas and Elena fell into a rhythm that felt natural. She came over for dinner twice a week. Lucas met her for coffee on his lunch breaks. Maya started calling her Elena who bakes cookies, which Elena found hilarious and only encouraged by baking more. But not everything was perfect. Lucas still had moments of doubt. Moments when he woke up in the middle of the night convinced this was all going to fall apart. And Elena still pulled away sometimes, shutting down when things felt too close, too real. One night, about a month after Derek's suspension, they had their first real fight. It started over something small. Lucas had invited Elena to Maya's school play, a production of some fractured fairy tale where Maya played a tree. Elena had agreed, but the day of the play, she canceled. Elena, I'm so sorry. Something came up at work. I can't make it. Lucas stared at the text, anger bubbling up. He called her. What do you mean you can't make it? I'm sorry, Lucas. My boss scheduled a last-minute meeting. I can't get out of it. It's 7 p.m. I know, but this client... I don't care about the client, Elena. Maya's been talking about this for weeks. She wants you there. I know, and I feel terrible, but I can't or won't. There was a sharp silence. Then Elena said, That's not fair. Isn't it? Every time things get real, you find an excuse, a reason to pull back. That's not what this is. Then what is it? Elena's voice rose. It's my job, Lucas, the thing that pays my rent, the thing I can't afford to lose. And what about us? Can you afford to lose that? Don't put me in this position. I'm not. You're putting yourself there. Elena hung up. Lucas stood there, furious and hurt, and wanted to throw his phone across the room. But Maya was in the next room, putting on her costume, so he shoved the anger down and focused on her. The play was fine. Maya was great. But the whole time, Lucas kept glancing at the empty seat beside him, the one he'd saved for Elena, and it felt like a metaphor he didn't want to examine too closely. After the play, Maya asked where Elena was. She had to work, Lucas said. Oh. Maya looked disappointed. Did she see the video you took? Not yet. Will you send it to her? Yeah, I will. That night, Lucas sent the video without a message. Elena replied an hour later. Elena, she was amazing. I'm so sorry I missed it. Lucas didn't respond. 2 days passed. Lucas didn't text, didn't call. He told himself he was giving her space, but really he was waiting for her to reach out first, to prove she cared enough to fight for this. On the third day, Elena showed up at his apartment. Lucas opened the door, surprised. "What are you doing here? Can I come in?" "Maya's at a friend's house." "I know. I texted her mom." Lucas stepped aside and Elena walked in. She looked tired, her hair pulled back, no makeup. "I was wrong," she said. Lucas crossed his arms. "About what?" "About the play. About pulling away. You were right. I got scared, and I used work as an excuse." "Why?" Elena sat down on the couch, rubbing her face. "Because it's easier. Because if I keep you at arm's length, I can't get hurt, and I can't hurt you." "That's not how this works, Elena. You can't protect yourself by shutting me out." "I know, but I don't know how else to do it." Lucas sat down beside her. "You do it by showing up, even when it's hard, even when you're scared." "I'm always scared. So am I." Elena looked at him, eyes shining. "I don't want to lose you, either of you. Then stop running. I'm trying." Lucas took her hand. "Try harder." Elena laughed, broken and raw, and leaned into him. "Okay, I will." They sat there for a long time, not talking, just being. And for the first time in days, Lucas felt like maybe they'd be okay. The weeks after that were better. Not perfect, but better. Elena made more of an effort to show up, to be present, even when it was uncomfortable. She came to another one of Maya's school events, a science fair where Maya presented her bean plants with the seriousness of a doctoral defense. She started keeping a toothbrush at Lucas's apartment, a drawer with a few spare clothes, small things that felt monumental. And Lucas tried to let her in, to trust that she wouldn't disappear. He told her things he hadn't told anyone, about the mornings after Maya's mom left, when he didn't know how he'd survive the day, about the guilt he carried, the fear that he'd never be enough. Elena listened, didn't try to fix it, just sat with him in it, and that was enough. One Saturday afternoon, they took Maya to the zoo. It was crowded, loud, full of kids running in every direction. Maya dragged them from exhibit to exhibit, narrating facts she'd learned from nature documentaries, correcting the informational plaques when they got things wrong. "That's not true," she said, pointing at a sign about penguins. "They don't all live in Antarctica. Some live in Africa." "She's not wrong," Elena said to Lucas. "She's never wrong. It's terrifying." They stopped at the penguin exhibit, watching the birds dive and swim. Maya pressed her face against the glass, mesmerized. "I want to be a marine biologist when I grow up," she announced. "That's new?" Lucas said. "Last week you wanted to be an astronaut." "I can be both." "Fair enough." Elena smiled. "I think you'd be great at both." Maya turned to her. "Will you still be around when I'm a marine biologist?" Elena's smile faltered for just a second. Then she said, "I hope so." "Good, because you have to come to my first big discovery." "Deal." They spent the rest of the day wandering the zoo, eating overpriced ice cream, taking terrible photos that somehow became Lucas's favorite pictures. On the drive home, Maya fell asleep in the back seat, and Lucas and Elena sat in comfortable silence. "She really loves you, you know," Lucas said quietly. Elena looked back at Maya, then at Lucas. "I love her too. Both of you." Lucas reached over, took her hand. "Good, because we're not letting you go." Elena squeezed his hand. "I'm not going anywhere." And for the first time, Lucas believed her. The following week, Lucas got a call from HR. "We need to schedule a follow-up meeting," Jennifer said, "just to close out the investigation officially." "Is there a problem?" "No, just paperwork, standard procedure." Lucas agreed, but the unease settled back in. He met with HR on Thursday, Karen sitting in as his supervisor. Jennifer and her colleague went through the timeline, confirmed the facts, asked if Lucas felt safe returning to normal work conditions. "Derek's not coming back, right?" Lucas asked. "Correct. His employment was terminated." "Then, yeah, I feel safe." Jennifer nodded, made a note. "And your relationship with Ms. Ward, is that ongoing?" Lucas tensed. "Yes, Why? No reason, just confirming for our records. As long as it doesn't interfere with your work, it's not an issue. It won't. Good. Jennifer closed her file. Then we're done here. Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Hale. Lucas left the meeting feeling drained. He texted Elena. Lucas, HR closed the investigation. It's officially over. Elena, that's great. How do you feel? Lucas, like I can finally breathe. Elena, good. You deserve that. Lucas, we both do. That weekend, Elena suggested they do something different. Like what? Lucas asked. I don't know. Something spontaneous. We're always so careful, so planned. Let's just do something. Lucas thought about it. Maya has a sleepover tomorrow night. We could go somewhere. Just us. Yeah? Yeah. They drove to the coast. It was an hour and a half away, and neither of them had been in years. They parked near the beach and walked along the shore, the wind cold and sharp, the ocean stretching out endless and gray. I forgot how much I love this, Elena said, her voice nearly lost in the wind. Me too. They walked until the sun started to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Then they sat on a driftwood log, shoulders pressed together, watching the waves. Can I ask you something? Elena said. Always. Do you think about the future? Like where this goes? Lucas considered the question. Sometimes. Do you? All the time. And what do you see? Elena was quiet for a moment. I see us. Together. Maya growing up. Maybe getting a place with a yard so she can grow more than just beans. She smiled. I see something real, something that lasts. Lucas felt his chest tighten. Yeah, me too. Elena turned to him. I know I've been difficult. I know I've pulled away when I shouldn't have. But I want you to know, I'm in this. For real. Lucas kissed her, soft and slow, tasting salt and certainty. I'm in this too, he said. They stayed until it was too dark to see, then drove home, hands linked across the console, the radio playing quietly. And when Lucas dropped Elena off at her apartment, she kissed him one more time and said, I love you. Lucas's breath caught. Yeah, I love you too. Elena smiled bright and real, and Lucas knew, without a doubt, that they were going to make it. The weeks after that confession slipped into something Lucas had almost forgotten existed, normalcy. Not the rigid survivalist routine he'd built over 6 years of single parenthood, but something looser, warmer. Elena started spending more nights at his place, her presence woven so naturally into their lives that Maya stopped asking if she was staying and just set 3 plates at dinner without being told. They still had rough patches. Elena would disappear into her head sometimes, going quiet for hours, and Lucas had learned not to push, just to wait until she was ready to come back. And Lucas still had moments where he'd catch himself planning for disaster, mentally cataloging escape routes, convinced that any day now the floor would drop out from under him again. But they were getting better at talking through it, at not letting the fear calcify into walls between them. One Friday evening in early December, Lucas came home to find Elena and Maya in the kitchen, covered in flour. What's happening here? He asked, setting down his bag. We're making cookies for the bake sale, Maya announced. Elena's teaching me the secret recipe. There's a secret recipe? Apparently, Elena said, grinning. Though Maya's version involves twice the chocolate chips and, is that sprinkles? Everything's better with sprinkles, Maya said matter-of-factly. Lucas watched them work, Elena guiding Maya's hands as she rolled dough, both of them laughing when half the sprinkles ended up on the floor. It was such a small moment, so ordinary, but it hit him hard. This was what he'd wanted for Maya all along. Not perfection, just this. Someone else who showed up. Someone who stayed. Later, after Maya went to bed and they'd cleaned up the kitchen disaster, Lucas and Elena sat on the couch with mugs of tea neither of them was drinking. I've been thinking, Elena said. About my lease. It's up in 2 months. Lucas's pulse quickened. Yeah? And I was wondering, she paused, looking nervous in a way he rarely saw. Would it be completely crazy if I didn't renew it? That depends. What would you do instead? Elena met his eyes. I was thinking maybe I could stay here, with you and Maya, if that's something you'd want. Lucas felt his throat tighten. He'd thought about this, late at night when he couldn't sleep, but he'd never let himself hope it might actually happen. Are you sure? He asked. That's a big step. I know, but I'm tired of going back and forth, of keeping one foot out the door just in case. I don't want to do that anymore. Her voice softened. I want to be here. Really, here. Lucas set down his mug and took her hands. Then, yeah, I want that too. Elena smiled, and Lucas saw relief wash over her face. Okay, good. Because I already started packing. Lucas laughed. Of course you did. I like to plan ahead. Since when? Since now. I'm a changed woman. They sat there, foreheads pressed together, and Lucas felt something settle in his chest, something that felt dangerously close to contentment. The next morning, Lucas sat Maya down at breakfast. So, kiddo, we need to talk about something. Maya looked up from her cereal, instantly suspicious. Am I in trouble? No, nothing like that. Elena and I wanted to ask you something. Where is Elena? She's coming over in a bit, but I wanted to talk to you first. Lucas took a breath. How would you feel if Elena moved in with us? Maya's eyes went wide. Like actually lived here? All the time? Yeah, all the time. Maya was quiet for a moment, processing. Then she said, would she have her own room or would she sleep in your room? Lucas felt his face heat. Because if she's in your room, I want to redecorate mine, make it cooler. We can talk about that. Maya grinned. Then yeah, I think it's a good idea. Yeah? Yeah, she's nice, and she makes good cookies, and she doesn't get weird when I talk about science stuff. Lucas smiled. Those are pretty solid reasons. Plus, I think you're happier when she's here. You smile more. Lucas's throat tightened again. You're a pretty observant kid, you know that? I know. Maya went back to her cereal, then added casually, does this mean she's going to be like my mom? Lucas froze. That's complicated, Maya. Why? Because you have a mom, even if she's not around. Maya shrugged. I don't remember her. I remember Elena. Lucas didn't know what to say to that. The truth was, Maya was right. Elena had been there for the science fairs, the school plays, the hospital visits. She'd shown up in all the ways that mattered, but Lucas didn't want to erase Maya's biological mother from the picture, even if she'd erased herself. We don't have to figure out labels right now, Lucas said finally. Let's just see how it goes, okay? Okay. Maya paused. But can I call her something, like not just Elena? What do you want to call her? Maya thought about it. I don't know yet. I'll figure it out. When Elena arrived an hour later, Maya ran to the door. Dad said yes! Elena laughed, catching her in a hug. I heard. What do you think? I think it's good, but I have conditions. Conditions? Maya pulled back, suddenly serious. You have to keep making cookies, and you have to help with my science projects, and you have to tell Dad when he's being too strict, because he listens to you more than me. Elena glanced at Lucas, amused. Those seem like reasonable conditions. I accept. Good. Maya hugged her again, then ran off to her room. Elena looked at Lucas. That went well. She asked if you're going to be like her mom. Elena's smile faded. What did you say? I said we'd figure it out as we go. And what do you think? Lucas pulled her close. I think you're already more of a parent to her than her biological mother ever was. But that's not my decision to make. It's yours and Maya's. Elena nodded slowly. I want to be. Whatever that looks like. I want to be here for her, for both of you. Then that's enough. The move happened gradually over the next month. Elena didn't have much. Most of her furniture was cheap, temporary, the kind of stuff you bought when you didn't plan on staying anywhere long. She kept a few pieces, donated the rest, and slowly integrated into Lucas's space. Her books filled the empty shelf in the living room. Her coffee mugs crowded the kitchen cabinet. Her jackets hung next to his by the door. Maya helped, of course, turning it into an event. She made signs for Elena's boxes, labeled them with elaborate drawings, and insisted on a moving day party that consisted of pizza and a movie marathon. By mid-January, it was done. Elena Ward officially lived with them, and Lucas woke up one Saturday morning to find her in the kitchen making breakfast while Maya sat at the table doing homework, and he realized this was his life now. This was real. Work had stabilized too. Derek was gone, the rumors had died, and Lucas had been given a new project, something big, something that actually mattered. Karen pulled him aside one afternoon and told him he was up for a promotion. "You've earned it," she said. "You've handled everything this year with more grace than most people could manage." The higher-ups noticed. "Thank you, Skis," Lucas said, still processing. "Don't thank me yet. The new role comes with longer hours, more responsibility. You'll need to figure out if that works with your situation at home." Lucas thought about Elena, about how she'd pick up Maya from school when he couldn't, how they'd started splitting everything, cooking, cleaning, bedtime routines. For the first time in 6 years, he wasn't doing it alone. "I can make it work," he said. "Good. We'll make it official next month." Lucas told Elena that night, and she kissed him so hard they almost didn't make it to the bedroom. "I'm proud of you," she said afterward, lying beside him in the dark. "It's just a promotion." "It's not just anything. You worked for this." Lucas turned to look at her. "We worked for this. I couldn't have done it without you." "You absolutely could have." "Maybe, but I wouldn't have wanted to." Elena smiled and curled into him, and Lucas closed his eyes, feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. But peace, Lucas was learning, was fragile. In February, Elena got a letter from her old law firm, the one that had fired her. They were being sued by the client she'd cost millions, and they wanted her to testify. "They can't make me, right?" Elena said, pacing the living room while Lucas read the letter. "I don't know. You'd need to ask a lawyer." "I signed an NDA. Doesn't that mean I can't talk about it?" "That's different from being subpoenaed." Elena stopped pacing, her face pale. "I can't do this, Lucas. I can't go back there and relive that whole thing, not after I've finally moved on." "You might not have a choice." "Then I'll refuse. I don't know. I'll figure something out." Lucas set down the letter and stood. "Elena, running isn't going to make this go away." "I'm not running." "Then what are you doing?" Elena's voice cracked. "I'm trying to protect the life I've built, the life we've built. If I testify, if this goes public, everyone's going to know. Your work, Maya's school, everyone. So what? We'll deal with it." "You don't understand. This isn't just embarrassing, it's humiliating. I ruined someone's case, cost them everything, and now I have to stand up in court and admit it all over again." Lucas crossed to her, taking her shoulders. "You made a mistake. You paid for it. That doesn't define you. It does to everyone else. Not to me, not to Maya." Elena looked at him, tears streaming down her face. "What if they take her away? What if they decide I'm not fit to be around her because of this?" "That's not going to happen." "You don't know that." Lucas pulled her into his arms, holding her while she cried. And he realized, not for the first time, that loving someone meant carrying their fear alongside your own. Elena consulted a lawyer, a friend of a friend who worked pro bono. The news wasn't good. She could try to fight the subpoena, but it would be expensive and probably wouldn't work. The best option was to testify, tell the truth, and hope it didn't blow back on her. "I'll go with you, Lucas," Lucas said. "You don't have to." "I know, but I'm going anyway." The day of the deposition, Lucas took off work and drove Elena to the law firm. She was quiet the whole way, her hands clenched in her lap. Lucas reached over and took one, squeezing gently. "You've got this," he said. "I really don't." "Yes, you do. You're the strongest person I know." Elena let out a shaky laugh. "You've clearly never met Maya." Lucas smiled. "Fair point." The deposition lasted 3 hours. Lucas waited in the lobby, reading the same magazine article 5 times without absorbing a word. When Elena finally emerged, she looked drained but intact. "How'd it go?" Lucas asked. "I told the truth. That's all I could do." "And?" "And now we wait." They drove home in silence, Elena staring out the window. When they got back to the apartment, Maya was at a friend's house, so they had the place to themselves. Elena went straight to the bedroom and collapsed on the bed. Lucas sat beside her. Talk to me. I don't know what to say. It's done. I can't take it back. Do you want to take it back? Elena thought about it. No, I needed to own it, to stop running from it. But that doesn't make it easier. Lucas lay down beside her, pulling her close. You don't have to do everything alone anymore. That's what I'm here for. Elena turned to face him. I know, and I'm still getting used to that. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. Elena kissed him, soft and grateful, and they stayed like that until Maya came home, loud and full of stories, pulling them back into the present. The lawsuit settled out of court a month later. Elena's testimony had helped, apparently, though she never learned the details. The law firm sent her a formal letter thanking her for her cooperation, which she threw in the trash without reading past the first line. It's over, she told Lucas that night. How do you feel? Lighter. Like I've been carrying something heavy for years and I finally got to put it down. Lucas smiled. Good. You deserve that. Spring came, and with it, Maya's 7th birthday. They threw a party at the apartment. Nothing fancy, just a few of her friends, pizza, and a cake Elena baked that was slightly lopsided but tasted perfect. Maya insisted on a science theme, so there were beakers filled with candy and decorations that looked like DNA strands. This is the coolest party ever, one of Maya's friends declared. I know, Maya said, beaming. Lucas watched from his kitchen as Elena helped the kids with some baking soda and vinegar volcano experiment that was definitely going to make a mess. She was laughing, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, looking completely at ease. And Lucas thought, not for the first time, how lucky he was. Later, after the guests left and Maya was in bed, Lucas and Elena cleaned up the disaster zone that used to be their living room. That was fun, Elena said, scraping dried frosting off the table. You say that now, wait until you find glitter in weird places for the next 6 months. Worth it. Lucas looked at her. Can I ask you something? Sure. Are you happy? Elena paused, then smiled. Yeah, I really am. Good, because I want to ask you something else. Elena set down the sponge, suddenly wary. Okay. Lucas pulled a small box from his pocket. Elena's eyes went wide. Lucas, I know this is fast. I know we've only been together a year, but I also know that I don't want to spend another day wondering if you're going to stay. I want to make this official. I want us to be a family. Really, truly a family. He opened the box. Inside was a simple ring, nothing extravagant, just a thin gold band with a small diamond. Elena Ward, will you marry me? Elena stared at the ring, tears already streaming down her face. You're serious? Completely. But what about Maya? Did you ask her? I didn't have to. She told me last week that if I didn't propose soon, she was going to do it for me. Elena laughed through her tears. That sounds like her. So? What do you say? Elena looked at him, at the ring, at the life they'd built together in this small, messy apartment, and she said, yes. Of course, yes. Lucas slipped the ring on her finger, and they kissed, long and deep, the kind of kiss that felt like a promise. When they finally pulled apart, Elena said, we should tell Maya. In the morning, let her sleep. She's going to lose her mind. I know. They finished cleaning in comfortable silence, both of them glancing at the ring on Elena's finger, both of them smiling like idiots. The next morning, Maya came running into the kitchen, still in her pajamas. Elena, did you? She stopped, staring at Elena's hand. Is that a ring? Elena held up her hand. It is. Maya's eyes went wide. Does that mean you're getting married? It does. Maya screamed and launched herself at Elena, nearly knocking her over. Lucas caught them both, laughing. Is this okay with you? Elena asked, crouching down to Maya's level. Are you kidding? This is the best day of my life. Even better than your birthday? Way better. Maya hugged her again, then pulled back. Can I call you Mom now? Elena's breath caught. Do you want to? Yeah, I mean, if that's okay. Elena looked at Lucas, who nodded. Then she looked back at Maya. That's more than okay. Maya grinned and hugged her again, and Lucas felt something in his chest expand, something warm and whole. They got married in May, a small ceremony in the park where Lucas had first told Elena he loved her. Maya was the flower girl, of course, and she took the job so seriously she practiced walking down the aisle for a week beforehand. Elena's boss and a few coworkers came, along with Karen and some of Lucas's colleagues. It wasn't a big wedding, but it was theirs. When it came time for vows, Lucas spoke first. I spent a long time thinking I had to do everything alone, that asking for help was weakness, that letting someone in meant giving them the power to hurt me. And then you showed up, scared and soaked in the rain, and asked me to walk you home. And I didn't know it then, but that walk changed everything. You didn't fix me, Elena. You didn't save me. But you stood with me. You showed up, even when it was hard, even when I gave you every reason to leave. And I'm standing here today because of that. Because of you. Because you chose us. So I'm choosing you back. Every day, for the rest of my life. Elena was crying before he finished. She wiped her eyes and took a shaky breath. I've spent most of my life running. From mistakes, from fear, from anything that felt too real. And then I met you. And for the first time, I wanted to stay. You and Maya gave me something I didn't know I needed. A place to belong. A reason to stop being afraid. I don't know what I did to deserve this, but I'm not questioning it anymore. I'm just grateful. So thank you, Lucas, for seeing me, for trusting me, for letting me into your life. I promise I'll spend the rest of mine proving that you made the right choice. They exchanged rings, kissed, and Maya cheered so loud half the park turned to look. At the reception, a casual backyard thing at Elena's boss's house, Lucas watched Elena dance with Maya, both of them laughing, both of them glowing. And he thought about that night in the rain, about the choice he'd made to help a stranger, about how one small act of kindness had led to this. Karen approached him, holding a glass of wine. "Congratulations," she said. "Thank you. She's good for you." "Both of them are." "Yeah, they really are." Karen smiled. "You know, when all that drama was happening last year, I wasn't sure you'd make it through. But you did, and you came out stronger." "We came out stronger," Lucas corrected. "I didn't do it alone." "No, you didn't." Karen raised her glass. "To not doing it alone." Lucas clinked his glass against hers. "To not doing it alone." That night, after the guests had left and Maya was asleep at a friend's house, Lucas and Elena sat on the porch of their apartment watching the stars. "How do you feel?" Lucas asked. "Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." "Me too." Elena rested her head on his shoulder. "Do you ever think about that night, the one where this all started?" "All the time." "What do you think would have happened if you'd said no?" Lucas considered it. "I think I'd still be where I was, going through the motions, surviving but not really living." "Yeah, me too." They sat in silence for a while, just being. Then Elena said, "I love you, Lucas Hale." "I love you too, Elena Hale." She smiled at the name. "That's going to take some getting used to." "You've got time." 6 months later, on another rainy night, Lucas walked Elena home. Not because she was scared, not because she needed help, but because it had become their thing. Maya ran ahead, splashing in puddles, her laughter echoing down the street. "Careful," Elena called. "I'm being careful." Lucas took Elena's hand as they walked, the rain soaking through their jackets, neither of them caring. When they reached the door, their door now, Maya was already waiting, grinning. "Come on, you're so slow." We're coming, Lucas said. Maya opened the door and ran inside, tracking mud across the floor, and Lucas knew he should care, should tell her to take off her shoes, but he didn't. He just followed her in, Elena beside him, both of them laughing at the mess, because this was life. Messy, imperfect, full of moments that didn't go according to plan. But it was theirs. And for Lucas Hale, who'd spent so long convinced his story was defined by loss, that was more than enough. He'd learned, finally, that the right person doesn't arrive to fix you. They arrive to stand with you, to choose you, even when it's hard, to build something real, something worth fighting for. And for the first time in years, Lucas wasn't just surviving, he was living. The weeks after that confession slipped into something Lucas had almost forgotten existed: normalcy. Not the rigid survivalist routine he'd built over 6 years of single parenthood, but something looser, warmer. Elena started spending more nights at his place, her presence woven so naturally into their lives that Maya stopped asking if she was staying and just set 3 plates at dinner without being told. They still had rough patches. Elena would disappear into her head sometimes, going quiet for hours, and Lucas had learned not to push, just to wait until she was ready to come back. And Lucas still had moments where he'd catch himself planning for disaster, mentally cataloging escape routes, convinced that any day now the floor would drop out from under him again. But they were getting better at talking through it, at not letting the fear calcify into walls between them. One Friday evening in early December, Lucas came home to find Elena and Maya in the kitchen, covered in flour. "What's happening here, Yem?" he asked, setting down his bag. "We're making cookies for the bake sale," Maya announced. "Elena's teaching me the secret recipe." "There's a secret recipe?" "Apparently," Elena said, grinning, "though Maya's version involves twice the chocolate chips and... Is that sprinkles?" "Everything's better with sprinkles," Maya said matter-of-factly. Lucas watched them work, Elena guiding Maya's hands as she rolled dough, both of them laughing when half the sprinkles ended up on the floor. It was such a small moment, so ordinary, but it hit him hard. This was what he'd wanted for Maya all along. Not perfection, just this. Someone else who showed up, someone who stayed. Later, after Maya went to bed and they'd cleaned up the kitchen disaster, Lucas and Elena sat on the couch with mugs of tea neither of them was drinking. "I've been thinking," Elena said. "About? About my lease. It's up in 2 months." Lucas's pulse quickened. "Yeah?" "And I was wondering..." She paused, looking nervous in a way he rarely saw. "Would it be completely crazy if I didn't renew it?" "That depends. What would you do instead?" Elena met his eyes. "I was thinking maybe I could stay here, with you and Maya, if that's something you'd want." Lucas felt his throat tighten. He'd thought about this, late at night when he couldn't sleep, but he'd never let himself hope it might actually happen. "Are you sure?" he asked. "That's a big step." "I know, but I'm tired of going back and forth, of keeping one foot out the door just in case. I don't want to do that anymore." Her voice softened. "I want to be here. Really here." Lucas set down his mug and took her hands. "Then, yeah, I want that too." Elena smiled, and Lucas saw relief wash over her face. "Okay, good, because I already started packing." Lucas laughed. "Of course you did. I like to plan ahead. Since when?" "Since now. I'm a changed woman." They sat there, foreheads pressed together, and Lucas felt something settle in his chest, something that felt dangerously close to contentment. The next morning, Lucas sat Maya down at breakfast. "So, kiddo, we need to talk about something." Maya looked up from her cereal, instantly suspicious. "Am I in trouble?" "No, nothing like that. Elena and I wanted to ask you something." "Where is Elena?" "She's coming over in a bit, but I wanted to talk to you first." Lucas took a breath. "How would you feel if Elena moved in with us?" Maya's eyes went wide. "Like, actually lived here? All the time?" "Yeah, all the time." Maya was quiet for a moment, processing. Then she said, "Would she have her own room, or would she sleep in your room?" Lucas felt his face heat. Because if she's in your room, I want to redecorate mine, make it cooler." "We can talk about that." Maya grinned. "Then yeah, I think it's a good idea." "Yeah?" "Yes, she's nice, and she makes good cookies, and she doesn't get weird when I talk about science stuff." Lucas smiled. "Those are pretty solid reasons. Plus, I think you're happier when she's here. You smile more." Lucas's throat tightened again. "You're a pretty observant kid, you know that?" "I know." Maya went back to her cereal, then added casually, "Does this mean she's going to be like my mom?" Lucas froze. That's complicated, Maya." "Why?" "Because you have a mom, even if she's not around." Maya shrugged. "I don't remember her. I remember Elena." Lucas didn't know what to say to that. The truth was, Maya was right. Elena had been there for the science fairs, the school plays, the hospital visits. She'd shown up in all the ways that mattered. But Lucas didn't want to erase Maya's biological mother from the picture, even if she'd erased herself. "We don't have to figure out labels right now," Lucas said finally. "Let's just see how it goes, okay?"
Okay. Maya paused. "But can I call her something? Like, not just Elena?" "What do you want to call her?" Maya thought about it. "I don't know yet. I'll figure it out." When Elena arrived an hour later, Maya ran to the door. "Dad said yes." Elena laughed, catching her in a hug. "I heard. What do you think?" "I think it's good, but I have conditions." "Conditions?" Maya pulled back, suddenly serious. "You have to keep making cookies,
"And you have to help with my science projects. And you have to tell Dad when he's being too strict because he listens to you more than me." Elena glanced at Lucas, amused. "Those seem like reasonable conditions. I accept." "Good." Maya hugged her again, then ran off to her room. Elena looked at Lucas. "That went well." "She asked if you're going to be like her mom." Elena's smile faded. "What did you say?" "I said we'd figure it out as we go." "And what do you think?" Lucas pulled her close. "I think you're already more of a parent to her than her biological mother ever was. But that's not my decision to make. It's yours and Maya's." Elena nodded slowly. "I want to be. Whatever that looks like. I want to be here for her, for both of you. Then that's enough." The move happened gradually over the next month. Elena didn't have much. Most of her furniture was cheap, temporary, the kind of stuff you bought when you didn't plan on staying anywhere long. She kept a few pieces, donated the rest, and slowly integrated into Lucas's space. Her books filled the empty shelf in the living room. Her coffee mugs crowded the kitchen cabinet. Her jackets hung next to his by the door. Maya helped, of course, turning it into an event. She made signs for Elena's boxes, labeled them with elaborate drawings, and insisted on a moving day party that consisted of pizza and a movie marathon. By mid-January, it was done. Elena officially lived with them, and Lucas woke up one Saturday morning to find her in the kitchen, making breakfast while Maya sat at the table doing homework, and he realized this was his life now. This was real. Work had stabilized too. Derek was gone, the rumors had died, and Lucas had been given a new project, something big, something that actually mattered. Karen pulled him aside one afternoon and told him he was up for a promotion. "You've earned it," she said. "You've handled everything this year with more grace than most people could manage." The higher-ups noticed. "Thank you," Lucas said, still processing. "Don't thank me yet. The new role comes with longer hours, more responsibility. You'll need to figure out if that works with your situation at home." Lucas thought about Elena, about how she'd pick up Maya from school when he couldn't, how they'd started splitting everything, cooking, cleaning, bedtime routines. For the first time in 6 years, he wasn't doing it alone. "I can make it work," he said. "Good. We'll make it official next month." Lucas told Elena that night, and she kissed him so hard they almost didn't make it to the bedroom. "I'm proud of you," she said afterward, lying beside him in the dark. "It's just a promotion. It's not just anything. You worked for this." Lucas turned to look at her. "We worked for this. I couldn't have done it without you." "You absolutely could have." "Maybe, but I wouldn't have wanted to." Elena smiled and curled into him, and Lucas closed his eyes, feeling something he hadn't felt in years: peace. But peace, Lucas was learning, was fragile. In February, Elena got a letter from her old law firm, the one that had fired her. They were being sued by the client she'd cost millions, and they wanted her to testify. "They can't make me, right?" Elena said, pacing the living room while Lucas read the letter. "I don't know. You'd need to ask a lawyer. I signed an NDA. Doesn't that mean I can't talk about it? That's different from being subpoenaed." Elena stopped pacing, her face pale. "I can't do this, Lucas. I can't go back there and relive that whole thing, not after I've finally moved on. You might not have a choice. Then I'll refuse. I don't know. I'll figure something out." Lucas set down the letter and stood. "Elena, running isn't going to make this go away." "I'm not running." "Then what are you doing?" Elena's voice cracked. I'm trying to protect the life I've built, the life we've built. If I testify, if this goes public, everyone's going to know. Your work, Maya's school, everyone. So what? We'll deal with it. You don't understand. This isn't just embarrassing. It's humiliating. I ruined someone's case, cost them everything, and now I have to stand up in court and admit it all over again. Lucas crossed to her, taking her shoulders. You made a mistake. You paid for it. That doesn't define you. It does to everyone else. Not to me, not to Maya. Elena looked at him, tears streaming down her face. What if this ruins everything? What if people look at you differently because of me? Then they're not worth worrying about. Lucas, no. His voice was firm. You made a mistake. You owned it. You moved on. That's more than most people ever do. And I'm not going to stand here and let you tear yourself apart over something that's already done. Elena pulled her into his arms, holding her while she cried. And he realized, not for the first time, that loving someone meant carrying their fear alongside your own. Elena consulted a lawyer, a friend of a friend who worked pro bono. The news wasn't good. She could try to fight the subpoena, but it would be expensive and probably wouldn't work. The best option was to testify, tell the truth, and hope it didn't blow back on her. I'll go with you, Lucas said. You don't have to. I know, but I'm going anyway. The day of the deposition, Lucas took off work and drove Elena to the law firm. She was quiet the whole way, her hands clenched in her lap. Lucas reached over and took one, squeezing gently. You've got this, he said. I really don't. Yes, you do. You're the strongest person I know. Elena let out a shaky laugh. You've clearly never met Maya. Lucas smiled. Fair point. The deposition lasted 3 hours. Lucas waited in the lobby, reading the same magazine article 5 times without absorbing a word. When Elena finally emerged, she looked drained but intact. How'd it go? Lucas asked. I told the truth. That's all I could do. And now we wait. They drove home in silence, Elena staring out the window. When they got back to the apartment, Maya was at a friend's house, so they had the place to themselves. Elena went straight into the bedroom and collapsed on the bed. Lucas sat beside her. Talk to me. I don't know what to say. It's done. I can't take it back. Do you want to take it back? Elena thought about it. No, I needed to own it, to stop running from it, but that doesn't make it easier. Lucas lay down beside her, pulling her close. You don't have to do everything alone anymore. That's what I'm here for. Elena turned to face him. I know, and I'm still getting used to that. But take your time. I'm not going anywhere. Elena kissed him, soft and grateful, and they stayed like that until Maya came home, loud and full of stories, pulling them back into the present. The lawsuit settled out of court a month later. Elena's testimony had helped, apparently, though she never learned the details. The law firm sent her a formal letter thanking her for her cooperation, which she threw in the trash without reading past the first line. It's over, she told Lucas that night. How do you feel? Lighter, like I've been carrying something heavy for years and I finally got to put it down. Lucas smiled. Good. You deserve that. We deserve that, Elena corrected. I couldn't have done it without you. You could have, but I'm glad you didn't have to. Spring came, and with it, Maya's 7th birthday. They threw a party at the apartment, nothing fancy, just a few of her friends, pizza, and a cake Elena baked that was slightly lopsided but tasted perfect. Maya insisted on a science theme, so there were beakers filled with candy and decorations that looked like DNA strands. This is the coolest party ever, one of Maya's friends declared. I know, Maya said, beaming. Lucas watched from the kitchen as Elena helped the kids with some baking soda and vinegar volcano experiment that was definitely going to make a mess. She was laughing, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, looking completely at ease. And Lucas thought, not for the first time, how lucky he was. How all of this, the mess, the chaos, the noise, was exactly what he'd been missing without knowing it. Later, after the guests left and Maya was in bed, Lucas and Elena cleaned up the disaster zone that used to be their living room. That was fun, Elena said, scraping dried frosting off the table. You say that now. Wait until you find glitter in weird places for the next 6 months. Worth it. Lucas looked at her, watched the way she moved around the space like she owned it, like she belonged. Because she did. And he realized he didn't want to wait anymore. Elena. Yeah? There's something I need to ask you. Elena turned, sensing the shift in his tone. Okay. Lucas pulled a small box from his jacket pocket, the one he'd been carrying around for 2 weeks, waiting for the right moment. Elena's eyes went wide. Lucas, I know this is fast. I know we've only been living together a few months, but I also know that I don't want to spend another day wondering what comes next. I want to make this official. I want us to be a family. Really, truly a family. He opened the box. Inside was a simple ring, nothing extravagant, just a thin gold band with a small diamond. Elena Ward, will you marry me? Elena stared at the ring, tears already forming. You're serious? Completely. But what about Maya? Did you ask her? I didn't have to. She told me last week that if I didn't propose soon, she was going to do it for me. Elena laughed through her tears. That sounds exactly like her. So, what do you say? Elena looked at him, at the ring, at the life they'd built together in this small, messy apartment, and she said, Yes, of course, yes. Lucas slipped the ring on her finger and they kissed, long and deep, the kind of kiss that felt like a promise. When they finally pulled apart, Elena was smiling so wide it looked like it hurt. We should tell Maya, she said. In the morning, let her sleep. She's going to lose her mind. I know, that's half the fun. They finished cleaning in comfortable silence, both of them glancing at the ring on Elena's finger every few seconds, like they couldn't quite believe it was real. The next morning, Maya came running into the kitchen, still in her pajamas. Elena, did you? She stopped, staring at Elena's hand. Is that a ring? Elena held up her hand. It is. Maya's eyes went impossibly wide. Does that mean you're getting married? It does. Maya screamed, an actual ear-splitting scream of joy, and launched herself at Elena, nearly knocking her over. Lucas caught them both, laughing. Is this okay with you? Elena asked, crouching down to Maya's level once she'd calmed down slightly. Are you kidding? This is the best thing ever. Even better than your birthday party? Way better. Maya paused, suddenly serious. Can I call you Mom now? Elena's breath caught. Lucas saw her eyes fill with tears again, but she was smiling. Do you want to? Elena asked softly. Yeah, I mean, if that's okay. Elena looked at Lucas, who nodded. Then she looked back at Maya. That's more than okay. That would make me really happy. Maya grinned and hugged her again, and Lucas felt something in his chest expand, something warm and whole, and terrifyingly perfect. They set a date for late May, nothing elaborate, just a small ceremony in the park where Lucas had first told Elena he loved her. The planning was simple because neither of them wanted anything complicated. Elena's boss offered to host a small reception at her house. Karen insisted on bringing champagne. Maya appointed herself the official flower girl and took the role so seriously she practiced walking down an imaginary aisle for a week straight. The morning of the wedding, Lucas woke up before his alarm, nerves and excitement tangling in his stomach. He found Maya already awake in the kitchen, eating cereal. Big day, she said, grinning. Yeah. You nervous? Nope. Are you? A little. Why? You love her. I know, but what if something goes wrong? Maya rolled her eyes in that way only 7-year-olds could. Dad, you're worrying about nothing. Elena loves you. You love her. That's all that matters. Lucas smiled. When did you get so smart? I was born this way. The ceremony was perfect in all the imperfect ways that mattered. The weather was supposed to be clear, but it drizzled lightly during the vows, which Elena later said was fitting given how they'd met. Maya walked down the aisle with exaggerated precision, scattering flower petals like she was performing surgery. Karen cried. Elena's boss took too many photos. And when Lucas saw Elena walking toward him in a simple white dress, her hair loose around her shoulders, He forgot every worry he'd ever had. When it came time for vows, Lucas spoke first.
I spent a long time thinking I had to do everything alone, that asking for help was weakness, that letting someone in meant giving them the power to hurt me. And then you showed up, scared and soaked in the rain, and asked me for something simple, just to walk you home. And I didn't know it then, but that walk changed everything. You didn't fix me, Elena. You didn't save me. But you stood with me. You showed up even when it was hard, even when I gave you every reason to leave. And I'm standing here today because of that. Because you chose us. So I'm choosing you back, every day, for the rest of my life. Elena was already crying before he finished. She wiped her eyes and took a shaky breath before speaking. I've spent most of my life running. From mistakes, from fear, from anything that felt too real. And then I met you, and for the first time, I wanted to stay. You and Maya gave me something I didn't know I needed, a place to belong, a reason to stop being afraid. I don't know what I did to deserve this, but I'm not questioning it anymore. I'm just grateful. So thank you, Lucas, for seeing me, for trusting me, for letting me into your life. I promise I'll spend the rest of mine proving that you made the right choice. They exchanged rings, simple gold bands that matched, and kissed while Maya cheered so loud half the park turned to look. The reception was exactly what they'd hoped for, casual, warm, full of laughter and terrible dancing. Maya convinced Elena to teach her how to waltz, which turned into both of them stumbling around while Lucas watched, grinning like an idiot. Karen approached him with a glass of champagne. "Congratulations," she said. "Thanks for everything. You did this, Lucas, not me. I couldn't have without your support." Karen smiled. "Well, you've got a good thing here. Don't screw it up." "I'll do my best." She clinked her glass against his and walked away, leaving Lucas to watch his wife, dance with their daughter under string lights in someone else's backyard. And he thought about how strange life was, how one decision on a rainy Thursday night could lead to this, how choosing to help someone, to show up when it would have been easier to walk away, had given him everything he'd stopped believing he could have. That night, after the reception ended, and they dropped Maya off at Karen's house for a sleepover, her idea, her gift, Lucas and Elena went home to their apartment. It was quiet, almost too quiet after the noise of the day, and they both stood in the living room for a moment, not quite sure what to do. "That was a good day," Elena said finally. "Yeah, it really was. I can't believe we're married." "Me neither." Elena turned to him, her expression soft. "Are you happy?" "Are you kidding? I'm terrified and happy and overwhelmed and 100 other things I don't have words for." "Good, me too." They sat on the couch, Elena curled against his side, and Lucas felt the weight of the day settle into something quieter, something sustainable. "Can I tell you something?" Elena said. "Always. When I asked you to walk me home that night, I almost didn't. I stood there for 10 minutes, trying to convince myself I didn't need help, that I could make it on my own like I always had." "What changed your mind?" "I looked at you and you just seemed safe, like someone who would show up, and I was right." Lucas kissed the top of her head. "You were right." "I'm glad I asked." "Me too." They stayed like that until they both fell asleep on the couch, still in their wedding clothes, the ring on Elena's finger catching the light from the street lamp outside. The months that followed were a new kind of normal. Lucas settled into his promotion, the longer hours balanced by Elena's flexibility and their shared determination to make it work. Maya started second grade with a newfound confidence that her teachers attributed to increased stability at home, which made Lucas and Elena exchange knowing looks during parent-teacher conferences. They bought a small house outside the city, nothing fancy, but it had a yard where Maya could grow more than just beans, and a second bedroom they turned into an office for Elena. Life wasn't perfect. They fought sometimes, usually about small things that turned into bigger things because they were both still learning how to navigate being a team instead of individuals. Lucas still had moments where he expected Elena to leave, where the old fear crept back in and he pulled away without meaning to. And Elena still struggled with letting people see her fail, with asking for help instead of powering through on her own. But they learned. They stumbled and adjusted and kept showing up for each other, kept choosing each other even when it would have been easier not to.
One Saturday evening in late October, almost a year and a half after that first rainy night, Lucas came home from running errands to find Elena and Maya in the backyard. Maya was showing Elena her latest science project, something involving soil samples and pH levels that Lucas didn't fully understand. And Elena was listening with the same intensity she always did, asking questions, taking Maya seriously in a way that made his daughter glow. Lucas stood at the back door watching them and thought about all the ways his life had changed. How he'd gone from a man who believed his story was defined by loss to someone who understood that sometimes the best things came from the moments you least expected. From saying yes when it would have been easier to say no. From trusting that not everyone leaves. "Dad!" Maya called, spotting him. "Come look at this." Lucas walked over, and Elena slipped her hand into his as Maya launched into an explanation of alkaline versus acidic soil that went completely over his head. "I have no idea what you just said," Lucas admitted. "That's okay, Elena gets it." "Elena is smarter than me," Elena laughed. "That's not true." "It's a little true," Maya said. They stayed outside until it got too dark to see, then went inside and made dinner together. Spaghetti, Maya's favorite, with garlic bread that Elena always burned slightly but no one complained about. After dinner, they watched a movie, all three of them piled on the couch, under blankets, even though it wasn't quite cold enough yet to need them. When Maya fell asleep halfway through, Lucas carefully picked her up and carried her to bed. He tucked her in, kissed her forehead, and stood there for a moment, watching her breathe. Elena appeared in the doorway. "She's out?" "Completely." They walked back to the living room together, and Elena turned off the TV. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure." "Do you ever think about that night? The one where this all started?" "All the time." "What do you think would have happened if you'd said no?" Lucas considered it. "I think I'd still be where I was, going through the motions, surviving, but not really living." "Yeah, me too." Elena crossed to him, wrapping her arms around his waist. Lucas held her close, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, feeling the steady beat of her heart against his chest. "I'm glad you asked," he said. "I'm glad you said yes." They stood there in the quiet of their living room, in the house they'd bought together, with the daughter they were raising together, and Lucas understood something he hadn't before. That love wasn't about finding someone perfect. It was about finding someone willing to show up, someone who chose you, even when things got hard, someone who stood with you instead of trying to fix you. And maybe that was the whole point, not to avoid pain or fear or uncertainty, but to find someone willing to walk through it beside you, to build something real, something messy and imperfect and worth fighting for. 6 months later, on another rainy night in April, Lucas and Elena walked home together after dinner at a restaurant downtown. Maya had stayed home with a babysitter, claiming she was too old for date nights, but secretly happy to have the apartment to herself. The rain came down steadily, soaking through their jackets, and neither of them had remembered an umbrella. "We're getting drenched," Elena said, laughing. "Yeah, just like old times." "You want to make a run for it?" Lucas looked at her, at the woman who'd asked him to walk her home, who'd shown up at the hospital, who'd stayed through everything, and shook his head. "No, let's take our time." Elena smiled and took his hand, and they walked slowly through the rain, in no hurry to get anywhere, just being together. When they finally reached their house, Maya was waiting at the door, grinning. "You guys look like drowned rats," she said. "Thanks, kiddo. Real supportive," Lucas said. "Come on, I made hot chocolate." They followed her inside, tracking water across the floor, and Maya handed them mugs with too many marshmallows. "To the best parents ever," Maya said, raising her mug. Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Maya." "What?" "It's true." Lucas put his arm around Elena's shoulders and clinked his mug against Maya's. "To family." "To family," Elena echoed. They sat together in the living room, wet and warm and exactly where they belonged. And Lucas realized that this messy, imperfect, beautiful life was everything he'd never known he needed. Because the truth was, you didn't survive by building walls. You survived by letting people in, by taking chances, by saying yes to the scared stranger in the rain who asked for something simple and gave you everything in return. And for Lucas Hale, that had made all the difference.